Renu, you are a mixture of psychology, mindset coach, of social media person. Like, how would you call yourself?
So I call myself a social media and mindset mentor. So social media is, I guess, what I know best. It's what I've been doing for like 10 years. That's kind of, it feels like it's the core of the business. And the mindset stuff, personal development stuff has come afterwards because I'm so passionate about it. And I believe so strongly that people need to work on themselves. So I say I'm a bit of both.
Why did you started your business actually? What is your story?
So my story. So I'll take it back a little bit just so you can understand from sort of way back. But I did psychology as a degree. As you said, I'm a psychologist. Work with kids with disabilities, was doing kind of one-to-one work, teaching them in schools, did support work as well. And then I took a bit of a break, was living in Spain for 18 months and had a fashion blog over there. And when I came back to the UK, everything had changed. And I couldn't get jobs in the kind of care industry anymore. So because the only experience I had was the social media and the marketing that I'd marketed my own blog, I fell into marketing. So I fell into digital marketing. Luckily for me, that time, it was a time when people didn't really understand digital marketing. So I fell into it at like the perfect time. So worked for many years in companies writing their blog posts, it's all been content based. So writing blog posts, doing social media, doing a bit of events as well. And then left London in 2016, moved to Leicester. So I'm now based in Leicester. And I had this passion, this kind of, it's not been on the surface. I can't say, oh yeah, I knew I'd always wanted to own my business because I had no idea. But when I was finishing the job in London, I felt like that job was like the last job I wanted to do. I was just like, want to do my own thing. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. A lot of people focus on kind of social media management and they manage other people's social media. So I tried that and it just didn't feel right. And I didn't feel like I was really, it just didn't feel enough. It didn't feel enough. So started doing that, was like, this is not working, kind of gave up on myself, kind of lost belief in myself and started working for a company. And the reason I worked for the company was because I wanted to understand, is it me that's feeling this way or is it the company? Because I'd always worked for big companies. So I worked for this small company and was starting to feel the same way. At the same time, had like anxiety and all kinds of other stuff going on. And I was like, okay, kind of got to the point where I was like, no, I don't want to do this. I want to work for myself, really, really work for myself. So I set up some one-to-one stuff with people just before I finished working with the company. I did my resignation and just said, I'm going to do it. And that was it really. And the difference was this time was I didn't want to do working for people and managing their social media, but taking it back to what I first did when I left university was working with people and actually teaching them how to grow their own businesses, because that's what I wanted to do. It's about empowering other people and helping other people. So that's how I got to where I am now.
So when you work with someone, do you guide this person? How do you work with people?
So when I'm doing the mentoring, I will sit down and I'll say, okay, what do you need? Like, where are you? Most of the time, I can look at your channels and figure out what you need help in. So I don't need the social media stuff. Social media stuff I get completely. I understand that you're struggling with your content, you have no idea about hashtags, your bio needs some help. So I can pretty much tell that after my experience. But what I do, I have a little consultation with them. So it'll be like a half an hour, 40-minute chat to understand more about where they are. And very quickly, I'm very lucky that I have good intuition. I can tell if you're lacking confidence. I can tell if you're not taking care of yourself, because I really believe they sit side by side. And the reason why I started to move into mindset stuff was because I realized that I was teaching people so much about social media. People weren't doing anything. I spent hours preparing content, going through stuff. It was all, they just wouldn't do anything. What I realized is the reason they weren't doing it was not because they didn't understand it or because they couldn't do it. It's because they didn't have the confidence in themselves to get it done. So I work two things along each other. So we do the social media stuff, which is quite technical. It's like, right, this is your content plan. This is how you do it. This is how you do a strategy. This is what you learn. This is what you do. So that's the technical stuff. Same time, we do the kind of mindset, personal development stuff. What are you doing for yourself? What are your core values? What is your why? All this kind of stuff I delve into. But working with me, you have to be ready to delve deep because it's not going to be on the surface. I'm not on the surface person. I need a bit more from you. So like recently I worked with a lady in London, and we did the sort of superficial why. And it was, yeah, I want to help people. It's like, yeah, okay, we want to help people. When we dug a bit deeper, her why was so different to what she thought it was. Even she didn't know. There's always a reason why we're doing something.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't know your deep why, on the days when times are hard, you're not going to be able to get to do your work. You're going to just be like, oh, you know what? I don't feel like it. Mindset shift that I tell people to do as well is, especially with the personal branding as well, you're not doing it for yourself, you're doing it for your business. This is why you're doing this. You need to separate yourself. Even if you're a personal brand, separate yourself from your business. Because yes, okay, fine, you don't like the way you look, you know, that's your own confidence issue. But how is that helping your business grow? You're stopping yourself. So a lot of people will not do things because of these small things. It's because they're not ready to look at themselves actually as they are today, right now. So it's got to be a hand in hand thing. Just do it. Just do it.
Sometimes people had some fears of being visible. What would you recommend them to overcome these kind of fears?
Step into the fear. I'd say, like, understand what your fears are and actually embrace them. So like one of the biggest fears I had was public speaking. So what did I do? I went and signed myself up to do some public speaking because I just thought if I don't do it now, I'll never do it. I think we have these belief systems that have come that aren't even our belief systems sometimes, you know, whether they've been brought up from experience or whether they've come from something somebody said to you. But it's about looking at that belief system and realizing that you can change it. So if you've got fear, step into the fear. Like, we all have fears, don't we? But I just really, really believe that if you don't step into it, you'll never, ever be able to grow. It's all about growth, isn't it? I had this dream. Last year, I'd had this kind of, one of my kind of main goals for last year was to speak in London. I didn't ever know that I'd be speaking in front of the man. It was about 80 or 90 people there. And I didn't know that would be about being a woman in business. So that's why that photo in particular means so much to me, because it was that first chance to actually speak about what it was like to be a woman in business. Because there are there's a lot of limitations you have, especially when you're kind of in your late 30s and you've just been married. There's a lot of limitations that people put on you and expectations you have of you. And to be able to do that in London, the city where I'm from, just meant so much to me. It also led me to realize that I should be doing a lot more. So it was after that talk that I realized I needed to do my own podcast, and I did that. My podcast launched earlier this year, but I wouldn't have done that if it had not been for that event. So it was really like a pivotal moment for me that, okay, one, I can do this in public. Two, while I was doing it, it just all felt so right. It was like, it just felt like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And if I'd never ever started my own business, I wouldn't have ever got out of my comfort zone to do the speaking in the first place, to be able to do it alongside other people like I had done then. So it's like these defining moments in your life that lead you to where you are now, and the impact that can make on you and on your growth as well, your journey.
Everybody are talking about personal branding. You need to build your personal brand. And what is your definition and what is your take on personal brand? How much personal can be personal brand?
I think with a personal brand, you have to be prepared to put yourself out there. So most of the things I share, I'm a personal brand, I am my brand. Most of the things I share are things I don't mind people knowing. I'm generally I think being an open person helps. I'm a very open person. Pretty much, you can ask me anything, I will pretty much tell you anything. I'm okay with that. But the problem is you have some people who have a personal brand, but they don't want to share stuff. That doesn't really, then don't have a personal brand. Don't do that. You have to be ready to actually put yourself out there. So there are things that are private that I don't share. No one would know anything about it. But most of the stuff that I'm willing to share, you'll find on my social media. And if anything, I found that sharing stuff and being quite open with my audience has allowed them to connect with me, which has allowed me to do my business, has allowed me to understand more about who I am. And that's been really, really important for the business as well, for my success. With the whole personal branding thing, if you want to be a personal brand, you have to be ready to share bits of yourself. And if you're somebody who's very, very private, then have a brand, do not be your personal brand. And I think that's really, really important. One of the whole limitations of why people don't follow their passions and start their own business is to do with fear. But one of the reasons where the fear comes from is like when you're obviously born, you go to school, then you get a 9 to 5 job. Like there is like a really, really kind of strict routine to follow, and it always involves routine, right? It always involves like having a structure. So when you have your own business, you don't have that structure, you know, and that's very scary for people. You don't, you know, at the moment, I mean, I'm not really complaining. I'm waking up at like 9. Oh no, I wake up at 7:38. I'm doing my meditations, my spiritual stuff. I'm going for a walk. I don't start work till 11, and that's quite difficult to go from waking up in the morning at 6:30, getting, you know, leaving your house at 7:30, going to a job at 9, finishing at 5, and doing that your whole life. So some people are scared of the fact that how are they going to cope with not having any routine. And at the talk I did in November, the one from the photo, I was talking about, like, somebody said, oh, you know, how do you manage your time? It's like, well, you do need like a diary. You need to have some kind of structure in your life still, but you choose your structure, but you have to be really motivated in order to create a structure for yourself as well. You can't just expect it just to happen, you know, because otherwise all you'd be watching TV all the time.
Yeah,
you know,
you need you are your own boss, right? Nobody will check on you. What I started to do right now, I'm more like I'm going to sleep earlier and waking up earlier as well, and also doing my prayers or meditation in the morning, so I can step up to work with a fresh mind as well, because I think the hygiene of sleeping, of life is and health, mental health and physical health is super important.
mental health, it's what the way you start your day can set you up for the whole day. So I feel like once you've done some stuff for yourself as well, it's easier to do work for other people as well. So my mornings are just about me. It's about me. It's about my meditation, my prayers, my walk, me. And then I can do more. Then I don't mind doing things for other people. But how can you serve other people when you've done nothing for yourself?
Yeah,
How can you start with you? So if you can create, and you have, but obviously having your own business, you create your own routine. But if you're not somebody who's very motivated or very disciplined, then you're going to really, really struggle. And that's very scary, not having a routine. Like you work by yourself. Like I actually quite like my own company. I didn't realize this, but I enjoy my own company. I find myself quite, you know, entertaining. So I'm okay. But you have no one to go to, do you, when you first start working for yourself? You just have yourself. And that's quite weird as well. That's scary.
So what 3 tips could you share with us, including me?
Work with other people. Like this is a collaboration. This means that I have access to your audience, you have access to my audience. I've got quite a big audience, so therefore we're both, you know, benefiting. I'd say definitely stay on your stories. So you've obviously got your story functionality, which is brilliant on Instagram. It's a good way to stay visible. It's easy, it's quick. So even if you're somebody who struggles with posting on a regular basis, you have no idea what to post, then you can stay on your stories. And I definitely say that. And I'd say be your customer as well. So if you're ever confused or lost about what to share, just think about what your customer wants. Always put yourself in your customer's position, because that's where the business comes from, your customer. People forget that. They just do what they want. And they're so stringent and they're so kind of planned and it's all very strict. That's not going to work. You have to be flexible. You have to think about your customer.
This social media thing, it's a big elephant. It's like you need to be there all the time. Do you have any tip how people can be visible online but still be present in the real life?
What do you mean be present in? Because I'm visible, but I'm still present. Do you mean like how can you separate your social media from your real life?
Like for example, scheduling. That's the one tool you can use. So you schedule your post in advance, and you are living your life, and you just post whatever is happening on the stories, for example. Is that something would you recommend, or you just go every day with whatever you feel like?
So I normally give myself, so the week before, what I'll do is I'll have a look at my diary and I'll have an idea of what days I want to post. So you need to commit some time. So for example, I'm going to commit 3 posts a week standard, and I'll be posting in my stories consistently. So I know, for example, we're doing this now. So this is a good story. I'm doing some content now as I'm collecting. So this could be a post as well if I want it to be. I already know in my head when I'm posting, say on Thursday, I've already got a video that I'll be putting up. So I think in advance, roughly what I want to be posting in advance. Mm-hmm. I don't recommend scheduling because I can't be authentic when I'm scheduling. Also, things change all the time. Like, how do I know what's going to happen next week, Wednesday, when next week, Wednesday hasn't come? But that's because I'm like that. I like to do things in the moment. So I always give a week before, I'll sit down and I'll plan. I'll be like, okay, what's happening the next week? All right, I know I've got a call. I know I'm doing some personal development stuff. But sometimes I mix it up. I mix it up because I also want to keep my content I don't want to be so stringent. I want to keep it quite open. I know that I have things related to business, mindset, and social media. Those are my 3 areas. So all my posts are related to those 3 things. But I mean, scheduling wise, I schedule on Facebook. I don't do that on my Instagram. Instagram is a channel which I am my most authentic, I'm my real, and I want to share what I feel. Okay. That's just my strategy. And it was worked for me perfectly well because it's the only way that I can be real. Doesn't mean I'm on my phone all the time. Doesn't mean that I'm constantly on my phone. It means at least I know what I'm saying when I'm saying it. But collect content, keep collecting content. That way, even those days when you've got nothing going on, you still got something to say because you've still got that image that you can use, especially on Instagram. It's all about images.
And how would you deal with haters?
I have had a few. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I don't really take it too personally either. I think if you don't understand me, if you don't understand me and you've not watched me and you've not really interacted with me and got to know me, you're not going to understand what I'm sharing. And that's what I found. I shared something a little while ago about marriage and how relationships and stuff. And I got this one person who sent me about 50 messages just saying, oh, how could you do this? Blah, 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 really, really negative. And I was like, you have to take a step back. You have to take a step back. Do not respond straight away. That's the worst thing to do. Take a step back, have a think about, if anything, I put myself in their position and I think, okay, perhaps he doesn't understand me. He's not like me. I know most of my followers can relate to me. That's why they follow me. Don't take it personally, 1. Don't respond. 2, if you're going to respond, keep it really, really non-personal as well. Use the word you did this, you did that. Just be general. Like I had one negative feedback from this person on one of my posts, and he said something on the lines of, "Oh, you're mentoring, but you don't have a big following." And that really taught me a lot about people out there, because people think that in order to do your job, you need to have a big following, but everyone starts from somewhere. And I don't really believe that following is that important. Like, okay, it's great for influence, but it's not everything. It doesn't mean people don't want to work with me. If anything, if there's a smaller following, I can manage it better. And I also thought, like, what a superficial person if he thinks that you need followers in order to build a business. That's not really going to get you. That's not going to get you. If that's all you care about, then. And I think my response to him was something like, "Thanks for following my content. That's it." I know that my following is loyal because I've given so much over such a long period of time that people come and look at my content now because they know that what I've got to say is good, is important. So I do get comments and I do get engagement. And that's how I know, like, when you first start out, you're going to be using loads of hashtags. And when you get a loyal following, you don't even need to use hashtags as much because people are going to look at your content no matter what. So you have to add, like you said before, your content has to be valuable in order for people to want to read on and learn more about what you're saying. And that takes it's taken me this year, June, will be 2 years since I set up the business.
I asked my guests to bring the picture from their childhood so we can see how did they look like. So here we go. We have a little Renu. So can you tell us a little bit more about your photo and how her childhood has an impact on who is she right now?
So the photo is obviously me in the park. And weirdly enough, maybe it's not weird, I still love going to the park. I love sitting on the swings. I love the freedom of being outside. Like, that still is very much ingrained in me. And I think when it comes to impact is I have been lucky enough to be brought up in a community in particular who we were very close to in London, where I'm from, a community that is kind of they look out for each other and they are always there for each other. And I think that has really been something that has stuck with me my whole life. Both my parents were obviously busy working. They moved to the UK. Well, mum was in the UK, but dad moved to the UK. He was from India. So it was kind of a really, I wouldn't say tough, but I'd say a really work-focused kind of family I lived in as well, which helped me with my whole work ethics and stuff. If you really, really, really want to grow your business and you're really, really committed to it, because social media is it's not an overnight success. It involves time, dedication, commitment. The problem I find people have is they'll put something up, no one will like it, they'll lose motivation, they'll just stop doing it. That's what people do. You can't expect it to happen overnight. You have to be. Sometimes people won't like your content. Sometimes they won't respond, and you'll take it personally. You'll be like, I put so much time into that, effort into that, and it took me so long to do this, blah blah. Yeah. And you're just doing it. Like, social media is brilliant. Like, I literally, like, the amount of opportunities I've had through social media. Like, even this now, if we hadn't have had that, if you hadn't seen me on that the talk I did, we wouldn't be doing this now. Look at that opportunity that's come just from social media. So there is a lot of opportunity there, but you have to be open-minded, and you have to you can't be thinking, oh, I heard people say, I hate social media. I hate it. It's like, well, you're never going to grow in it then. Like, energy goes where, attention goes where energy flows. If you're not putting energy into something, it's never going to grow. You need to be ready to put energy into it to make it grow, and you have to like it. So build a better relationship with social media, and you'll see the growth. Just build a nice relationship with it. Enjoy it. It's fun.
If you can recommend us one book that made a big impact on your life.
Okay, so I've actually got two, so I'm cheating.
Okay,
so
okay, go for it.
The Go-Giver. Given to me by a friend when I started business the first time. So in 2016, when I wanted to set my own business up and I started doing social media management, he gave me this. And it's a really interesting story of how you can build your business up, but it's a very authentic, humane. It's like this guy, he goes and he asks, I want to build my business, and there's loads of tips he gets, but it's such an easy read. And it's so, for personal development and business development, it's brilliant. So I love this book. I love it. It's such a good book. So that's one. That's by Bob Berg and John David Mann. It's called The Go-Giver. That's right. One. So that's my business kind of mind. Okay. And this one, The Universe Has Your Back, is spiritual. So I am a massive believer in the universe. I believe that the universe is guiding me. I believe that the universe has my back. And this book is really good because it gives lots of lessons of how you can remember that the universe is there by your side. So for me, this Universe Has Your Back, and it's by Gabrielle Bernstein. She's brilliant. And that kind of, I'm reading it for the second time at the moment, but that's a book that kind of helped me to stay connected to the universe. So I love that book.
The last thing, the quote that you follow in your life.
So everything is happening for me. So whether it's good or bad, or scary or amazing, it's always happening for me. So this means that if I have a client call and I'm doing a proposal for somebody and I send it out and they decide they don't want to work with me, I don't see it as a negative. I just see it as everything is happening for me. So it's absolutely fine. It wasn't meant to be. That's not what the universe wants for me. If things don't happen for me, it's okay. If things happen for me, it's okay. So it kind of helps me to just stay very, to not go like this, but to just stay very like level-headed all the time. Everything is happening for me. And that, ever since I started believing that, I can see things differently. I'm all about mindset. It's changed my mindset and the way I look at situations.
So I'm looking forward for your group, because that's what you're applying to do. Tell us more about it.
Yeah, so it's not really something I've spoken about much yet, but I am hoping to do like ongoing support, so a bit of mindset stuff, a bit of social media stuff. I did like a live Q&A last week on my Instagram, so I want to do more of that stuff as well. But it's really about supporting people ongoing, because I think you cannot just, what I found is I can't just give all the information and expect people to go and do it, because it's too much, it's too overwhelming. So I want to break it all up. I want to create like a bit of a community, a bit of a group, and actually see growth happen slowly, like support people along the way. Because even with social media, like there's so much, like somebody said to me, oh, you know, can you tell me like how to grow my brand? I mean, how long have you got? Like literally, how long have you got? Because I can't just tell you in 2 minutes. It's impossible. There's so much. My approach is very much like, it's a very human approach. It's a very human behavior approach. So not just technical where like, okay, do some hashtags, it'll go. No, it doesn't work like that. There's so much more to it, you know. It's about being authentic and real. It's about connecting. It's about being creative with your content. I think people don't really understand all this. They just think it's just you do a post, you stick it up, and that's it. It's not that. It involves a lot of extra work, but commitment is really important. You have to be committed. You have to be dedicated. And one of the things I always say is focus on the process and not the results.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy that you were my guest, and we will be in touch, definitely. See you on Instagram.
You know what? I'm always sharing stuff there. So if you ever want to get closer, just follow me there. It's the best place to catch me.